Welcome to another Petoskey Strong Focus on Community. I am Nikki Devitt, president of the Petoskey Regional Chamber of Commerce, and I am very thrilled to be joined by Chris Parker, superintendent of the Public Schools of Petoskey. Hi, Chris. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hey, Nikki, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
We are happy to have you. We are, of course, doing our little circle of checking back and in with our community leaders and our health leaders as we go through this COVID pandemic. And here we are, not even halfway through the month of November. And we're kind of in a little bit of a place right now, are we not?
We are in a little bit of a place for sure.
Yeah.
Our numbers of COVID-19 in the community continue to be really, really high. And that's certainly finding its way into our homes and into people who we know, into their homes. And it's found its way into the school setting too, as our staff and our students come in contact with us out and about. And then we're having, of course, to deal with that within the school as well.
Well, let's talk about this too, because as a parent of a Petoskey school student, I have a ninth grader myself, and I see the numbers probably, I look at them very closely as you do, and I know several members of our community do as well. And looking at the positivity rates right now for percent positive for testing, as well as how many cases per million we have. And you look at our daily numbers that we get from, the Shoreham ISD district or just Emmett County alone, this is not because of the schools. I've heard what I would call false narrative over the last few months that these recent spikes we're seeing these last few weeks are, well, school's back in session. Well, actually, school's been in session for a while, and we haven't had the same problem we're having now. And if you look at the number of cases that are actually coming directly from our school system, it in no way amounts to anything of what we're seeing in case counts. And that comes back to community responsibility.
Yeah, I think when you look across the board, I'm sure there are some, but I would say it was relatively few cases where you can say, as a student in fifth grade at, Pleasantville Elementary School came in and was positive for COVID-19, and then the whole class got it. I'm not seeing that, certainly not seeing it in our district. And when I talk with other superintendents, that's not what they're experiencing in their district. And from the health department perspective, they're not identifying it that way either. So we're certainly having students that are coming in contact with it who then, come to school, and we're working on that. Like, so if you're waiting on a test result, for example, please stay home and do that waiting and don't come in, because you very well may be positive, even though you're, not having significant symptoms. So we have some of that where it's coming in, but then it seems like our masking and hand hygiene and cleaning and distancing are having a positive impact in terms of kind of keeping that virus at bay.
Yeah, you put together, obviously all schools did, a preparedness and response plan, in part because of Michigan's return to school program. And a lot of that protocol what's keeping our case numbers so low in our schools. But what ends up happening with those community exposures, and right now the health department is saying over 1/3 of the cases that we are seeing are absolute community spread, if not more, meaning that it's not tied, like you said, to Jimmy going to and affecting the entire class, fifth grade class gets COVID. That's not happening. What we're finding happening is more community transmission, and the effect that has on the school system, as we've seen recently, is that does institute closures, which are not the best thing for the community or for our staff, or for our children and their parents. It's that comes down to how do you teach in person if you have to quarantine because you have so many exposures? And your response plan that you have set up, and Petoskey being one of the schools that's always offered both options, online or in person, I'm assuming that's helping get through this right now too.
Yeah, for sure. Our high school staff, we had to close. We were in a situation from a staffing perspective that we just really needed to move in the direction of a brief closure. They were able to get to the high school this morning, and they were up and running and online and helping each other out and making sure that we had that seamless transition, as seamless as possible, considering, I think it was probably after 7 o'clock by the time I was able to get communication out. to the staff and to the community. So can't say enough about the work that they're doing, their commitment to making this work. Obviously, we want to stay open. We want to stay open for lots of different reasons. We've done this for longer. We're better at in-person instruction. We're getting better at the online components, and we're learning a ton. But I would say that's still not our strong suit at this point, and certainly it's not for everybody. There are some students who I think have really excelled since we've switched to an online program, and that's fantastic. And I hope the pupil accounting rules in the future enable us to continue to have that as a viable option for some of our parents. But I feel much more comfortable when we have, teachers that have eyeballs on kids every day, who can see them, who can gauge what they need, who can interact with them on a face-to-face basis. There's certainly the benefits of the social interactions, the emotional piece. We were able to, keep our high school open and have fall sports by following our protocols and doing those things. And it resulted in one of our kids and a team of our kids winning an individual and a state championship at the cross country state finals last weekend. Our band kids were able to perform under the lights in the stadium. We had football and tennis and golf. So lots of great things we were able to do. And now it is becoming more and more of a struggle. And of course, we're leading into the winter sports season and less open doors and windows because of the temperature and things outside. And so we really have been just continuing to talk about, can we get some help? Can we, can everybody get back on board with the masking and the distancing and adhering to some of those building blocks or those basics that we know can really help to slow that curve down or slow the transmission down to make it more likely that we're able to stay open for our in-person instruction.
And you touched on it too. It's because, we've been saying stay safe to stay open, and it doesn't just mean for our businesses and our economy, it does mean our schools too, because the importance of that is not every child learns the same. And let's face it, we live in a society where some children's school is a respite. It's a safe place. And we have to remember as a community that doing our part to make sure that all children have access, to that education piece and that social piece and that emotional piece that they might need does fall back on the responsibility of the community as a whole. It's just the same as keeping our businesses open. If you can stand for the argument that, okay, I'm gonna, make sure that I'm wearing a mask so that my local hardware store stays open and my local favorite restaurant can do as much as possible, even if it's just takeout or whatever it may be. The concept of wearing a mask is full force for the schools too. It's, we know we're tired of it. I mean, obviously everybody is tired of it. But I think you're right. I think there's been, I think everybody kind of that fatigue set and we all kind of went, oh, well, our numbers are great. We're in region 6. We're awesome. We were awesome. And we can be again, but we have to do that as a community.
Yeah, I think there were weeks on end in the spring there where COVID didn't exist or almost didn't exist in Emmett County.
Even in
so
the
we've
summer.
got evidence. We have a sample size that's pretty significant that we can do it. And I don't think there's any reason to think that we can't do that again. And you bring up a good point, so from the learning and from the social and emotional development and the safety and the equity pieces for all of our students, we want to stay open. And we also want to stay open because we know that when we were forced closed in the spring, lots of our parents and caregivers used up all their vacation days.
Absolutely.
They used up all their sick days. Lots of folks in the community need their workers to come to work. And if they have to stay home to watch their kids because we can't stay open as a school, that creates a problem there. So we don't exist as a babysitter or as a daycare. We're a school, but yet we exist within this community and we have a role to play here as well. And we're aware of that, and we want to do our part to help businesses stay open, to help the community continue to thrive and economically to rebound as much as possible. It just gets harder and harder for us to be able to do our part that way with the numbers that we're seeing in the community.
Right, absolutely. And, part of that too is It is a ripple effect. We think back to the spring when everybody was home, kids and parents and everybody together, and parents used up a tremendous amount of time. Many were laid off and were receiving, because their business couldn't allow them to remote work, or it wasn't possible for their type of position. And so those, people were able to receive unemployment, pandemic assistance employment, and a lot of, the restrictions are going to come down and are already starting to come into place in regards to these case numbers. And what we're seeing is sending parents back to remote work. Now, think about that. If parents are remote working and kids are remote in school, you have the opposite problem just as much as the parent who can't take off work to watch their child. It's okay, we don't have enough bandwidth. We don't have enough spaces in the house. We don't have enough computers. We can't all be here learning together. It's not one big happy family. We're all sitting here, sitting around in our laptops and our meetings and having a good time. That's not for any parent that played any part in that. That's not how that works. It's chaos. And nobody's effective in that situation. So, it goes both ways too. Keeping the students in school, allows those parents whose businesses do decide to go 100% remote, gives that parent the opportunity to be able to actually be productive, in those situations and not battling for computer time, with their student. And so there's so many layers to this, but what it all comes back down to is no matter how tired we are of hearing it, it comes back down to wearing your mask. It comes right back to it.
Yeah. If we could just get back to some of those simple things, it really is, and it really does help, and it can make a big difference. We want to stay open. We want to keep doing those things that we can do, that we know that we can really help kids. I know there were kids that were disappointed, that want to be in school. One of the neatest things about all of this, and can talk certainly about the challenges, but one of the neatest things has been, after that long delay, to hear from kids how much they appreciate being at school. And that to even my own kids, my senior said to me, this morning, like, man, it's just a bummer. Like, it's just so much fun being at school. And I said, are you okay? Let me take your temperature.
Wait a minute. Did we do the temperature check this morning?
Just come on over here. Let me get a reading.
That's a new symptom of COVID. You're crazy now.
Yeah. So there seems to be, something's going on with that. I'll have to check in further when I get back. But this appreciation, I think,
exactly,
and we got to hang on to that when we get back to whatever our version of normal is going to look like, and whenever that happens, we appreciate being together. Kids appreciate school. I don't know how long we can hang on to that, but the longer the better, because I think it's really, really important. So we've learned a lot of important lessons, and we want to keep continuing to learn. We want to keep continuing to be open. I think we're going to have little outages, here and there, probably, as we have to catch up with contact tracing and help out with case investigation and those types of things. Maybe we'll take advantage of those times to deep clean even more. But for the most part, I think we're capable. We're kind of locked in, like, this is probably what this year is going to look like. But the more days that we can stay open, the better things that we're able to do for kids. And so if you're questioning about whether or not it makes a difference, please, for us, it makes a big difference if you mask up, and if you take care of your part, it makes a huge difference for us, and it makes us able to make a bigger difference for kids.
It's an all around good thing, and it's all a part, of us being that Petoskey Strong community that we know we can be. And, we've proven it. We've shown it over and over again over the course of the last 9 months that we led the state, and we can do it again. So, thank you so much for taking a few minutes. I know you're busy, for you and the entire staff and all the teachers and everyone, and all the efforts they're putting forth for our community, for our children. And as you said, happy kids, engaged kids mean parents work, and it all works well. And it's this great, big, beautiful cycle. And we were able to make it work once at the height of summer with thousands and hundreds of thousands of people from all over the country here. So we can make it work again when it's just us, I think. But thank you.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. And, we'll get this thing turned back around here pretty soon. And I know we can do it, and I look forward to it. So thanks for everything that you're doing, and the chamber's doing. And look forward to seeing some big decreases in this COVID curve and making sure that we're able to stay open. So thanks.
Absolutely. And also, Chris, thank you for the communication. You do a fantastic job. And I think it should be recognized that the public schools of Petoskey do keep the parents informed and they keep the community informed. And early on, that was a fear of some people as far as cases go and how that's working. And as a parent, as a community member, and a business advocate, we appreciate that very much.
Yeah, well, thank you. And we have been, open about that from the very beginning, that we know people are making some really tough decisions, sometimes life and death decisions based on information that they get from us. And so we've tried to be as transparent as possible. And sometimes I know that probably gets a little irritating. There's another text message from me, but we're just trying to make sure that we're getting out as much communication, as much clarity as we possibly can. And if you've seen our website, we've got a nice COVID dashboard up there, so there's more information there as well. But thanks, I'm glad that's working, because we've been really intentional with that.
It's absolutely working, and your website will follow after we're done here, and so will ours. So as always, you can always follow the Petoskey Chamber for more details and updates and information, not just on our community aspects, but also obviously as it pertains to you as a business member, as a community member, and your health. We will continue to keep you updated on this end as well. Thank you so much, Chris. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks. Bye-bye.